So thanks for that, Mr. Mitchell. I guess a couple of videos just to give you a bit of an insight into what's happening in this classroom, but then also, I guess, how technology is just part of modern life. So fantastic to see so many people here tonight. I guess the purpose of tonight is to provide you with enough information so you can go away, have a think, and then make an informed decision about whether the BYOD learning group is going to be right for your children next year. So what we will actually discuss tonight, how are we going with Prezi?
We're spinning away.
We're spinning. All right, so we'll have a bit of a look at how we actually got here. I guess trying to answer as many questions as you can through the presentation about what the program is, but also what the program is not. What a learning group BYOD will look like in 2018. We're just going to have a look at a little bit of research backing up what we're doing at this school. The non-BYOD learning groups. So you'll hear tonight we're doing the same thing, just in a different way. And that's all the classes across the school, the same thing, just in a different way. We'll have a look at cyber safety as well, in the programs that the teachers have got in place at the moment and how that will continue next year. Some of the background, some of the mechanics about the devices, etc. The requirements of the learning group, the apps, other costs, the agreement, the selection process from here, and also an opportunity for questions at the end of it. So hopefully the actual presentation will answer a lot of those questions. And then, as I said, providing you with enough information to make that decision. How are we looking, Mr. Duncan?
Apologies to those people that did see that last year, but we've been through a number of times, and that one still is as relevant today as it was back when it was done in 2012. Really shows exactly how much the world has changed, and I guess how much it continues to change since even 2012. And that's one of the biggest reasons why we've been looking at doing what we're doing. You know that we've had our first pilot Bring Your Own Device class here at Aspley East, and the history behind that was that we did get together back last year, and it was actually halfway through next term last year, term 3, that we started to have these conversations and get you all together to talk about our program. So I was saying to the team this afternoon, we're actually a term ahead in our planning for 2018, which is good for us. I sincerely thank you for coming along tonight, and Jared's talked about what we are going to talk about. We got together last year and we had a number of teachers that have been interested in it. You know that, or many of you would know that Bring Your Own Device has been something I've put into schools that I've been in the past. But I need to tell you that what we've done at Aspley East takes it to a whole new level. And it really does stretch the boundaries on what you think education is about and what it should look like. And it is absolutely unique. And it's because of these guys here and what they've done with it. We always talked about it's not about the device. And in our very early years it certainly was, because it was all about getting the things to work. It was about making sure that the stuff happened. And Aspley East, when we started last year, was ahead of the game in that department because we had technology already invested in the school that I didn't have in my previous schools. Every one of these classrooms can handle up to 30 devices for every one of those boxes that are up there, and there's about 4 in this room. So we've had a lot of success with the actual operational side of it, which means we've really been able to focus on the teaching and learning side of the Bring Your Own Device classrooms. We put out expression of interest, and we've done that, and I know that's been frustrating for some. The first thing we did last year was to say, do you want us to do it? And the message we got back was very clear: yes, please keep looking into it, we'd like to know more. And I had to repeat that again this year. I had to say to you, do you want me to spend the time looking into extending the program for 2018? And there was a resounding yes. I think we've got over 80 something, what I called an informal expression of interest. And tonight I will give you the formal expression of interest, which is the one that we use to choose the classes for next year. So this is the serious one. From at the end of tonight, you'll get your expression of interest form. You can fill that out and get it back to us by next Friday, so I can spend the break actually seeing what that looks like and trying to operationalise what our classes look like for next year. The other thing that I need to do to make sure that everything goes really well in 2018 is make sure I've got the right staff. They've been trained, and we'll be sending those people down to Melbourne in September to receive training on what we do here, and we're taking both the current iPad teachers and next year's iPad teachers. I'll be very clear right now and say I don't know who they are, so don't ask that one. We haven't been through the transfer process or the 2018 staffing process just yet. But training is the number one thing for us, and we do that very well, and we've got that all planned and ready to go for September. And we've also got to spend a fair bit of money in actually making sure we've got the classrooms. And that's something I haven't done in previous places, is actually set up the design of the 21st century classroom that we want. Because unfortunately back then we just didn't have the budgets. I want to spend a little bit of time about talking about what this is not. And it's not specifically targeted at academically challenged or gifted and talented students. It's not targeted as a fix. So if you think that coming into an iPad class or a BYOD class, 21st century learning class is going to fix all of the problems, it's absolutely not. It's not a guarantee. It's definitely not traditional, and it will push your thoughts around education and what you need, what your kids will need for the future. It is very, very different to the way that I went through school. It's not about throwing out the basics too, and Jared and Helen will talk to you later around the theory that we've been working on, and it's taken us a very long time. We've spent probably the vast majority of just this term trying to find the theory that links up with what we're doing that we're comfortable with. It's not about replacing teachers with devices. It's not about doing everything on the technology, and the more you would have seen in the videos at the very beginning how much pen and paper still occurs in a 21st century learning classroom. And it's not about the device being a focus. So what is it? I want to move away from the concept of bring your own device, because it really isn't about bring your own device. That's another aspect that I think makes a program successful. But what I really want to talk to you about, and I want to change the thinking for our whole school, is around class setup and design. One thing we purposely did when we started setting up the learning the groups that are currently this year was I didn't want any numbers in the class name. So these classes were specifically set up as IPK, IPM and IPW. We did that because I didn't want that mindset of I teach grade 4, or I teach grade 5 or I teach grade 6, and as soon as you say 4A or 4B, it automatically gives the mindset of I teach the year 4 curriculum. So that was just a semantic thing, but it's I think something that really helps push everyone out of that comfort zone of I'm not just focusing on what the year 4 curriculum is or the year 5 curriculum. We took the number right out. We changed in every classroom the last letter to be the initial of the teacher. It does create the iPad class and the non-iPad class by having the IP in the address. So what I wanted to do for next year was to just look at calling all of our classes learning groups. So that will both take out the number and take out the distinction of whether you're in an iPad class or not. And if we called them, my last name's Duncan, so it'd be, my class would be LGD. That takes away my mindset that I teach grade 4 and I'm working on a learning group. And it doesn't matter whether you're a bring your own device class or not. It's not a distinction in the name. I know that's a simple semantic things, but the older I get and the longer I've been in education, semantics is a really important part of it, especially when we're talking about mindsets. It is about the way that we deliver our curriculum. It is about how we engage students. It is about using an effective approach to differentiate and personalise curriculum. And that is where technology, regardless of what it is absolutely amazing. Back in the good old days before any kind of technology, when I used to teach grade 1, if I wanted to differentiate and do different activities for each group, I would have to photocopy 6 or 7 different sets of activities and organise it and have it all ready to go and give out the red group their stuff. When I was teaching phys ed, we had the dolphins as the top swimming group and the barnacles as the bottom swimming group. Same thing in the classroom. I'd have to have my top activities for the red group for reading, and I'd have everything lined up and photocopied, and it would take forever to do that. It's not very efficient, whereas the iPads or the technology can do that very, very efficiently. And we've specifically chosen software that we use in the classroom that will automatically differentiate as the kids are doing the activities. And the guys will probably talk about that a little bit more. But the software will get harder if the kids are finding it too easy, and it will get easier if the kids are finding it too hard, and we've specifically chosen software that will do that. So it is absolutely, like we've never done before, personalise the curriculum for every student. So if they are clever enough in grade 4 to be doing grade 6 work, they are doing grade 6 work. And I don't have to wait till I can get to the photocopier to photocopy it. They can just do it automatically on their machines. It is about preparing them for the 21st century, and this is where we've done a significant amount of work. And in fact, I was talking to an associate professor at Griffiths this afternoon in its central office about the whole concept. Because there's a lot of work I think we need to do as educators, and we've been talking about change in education for a long time. That if you still walk into Australian classrooms, and there's nothing wrong with this, you will still see in a lot of classrooms 3 rows of 8 facing the front with the teacher up the front using a PowerPoint doing a lesson. And that's still a big part of what we do in our 21st century learning classes. But what I saw as we travelled through British Columbia and through China and in parts of Victoria is that isn't the thing that happens every single day. When you walk into our current classes, it isn't one teacher sitting at the front teaching everyone in the room the same stuff. They're doing all sorts of different things. I walked into classrooms in British Columbia. They were all doing division. In the grade 6 classroom I walked in, but they were doing it 7 or 8 different ways. And the teacher had things set up all around the room, and the kids were rotating through all of this hands-on wonderful stuff. Some of it on technology, some of it not. But it was really about making sure we're preparing kids for that 21st century learning and giving them heaps of opportunities and different ways to do it. The program that we'll be offering is for year 4, 5 and 6 in 2018, and it allows them to bring their own device. I don't, at this point, and I'll never say never, but I don't want to go lower than that, and you'll see in the theory that we show you a little bit later the reason why. I'm not going into someone else's space, am I? Okay. I'll hand you on to Helen.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, Andrew has just been touching on about 21st century learning, and as an administration team and as a teaching team at the school, we have done a lot of research into how to best prepare our children for the future. It's about giving them a toolbox of skills that they can then go on and apply those to any situation. So we're moving away from the traditional model of being just content-based, where we all learn about the gold rush and we get the children to regurgitate about the gold rush and nothing else. We're wanting them to learn the skills so that they can apply that to any content and be able to learn anything. Everything is possible. So basically we're going to school-based, that's what 21st century learning is all about, and like I said, it's preparing them for the future. In doing all the research, we have read a lot of books and we have been to a lot of professional development sessions as well. We've come up with this model, and this model here puts the Aspley East learner in the middle. Sorry for you guys over that side, it's the circle in the middle. And as a staff, we got the staff together and we asked them what they thought a successful Aspley East learner was. And they came up with lots and lots of ideas. And we've incorporated that with what's around there as well as our school values. You see the school values written in dark black around there, that's a bit larger. What we then looked at was these were our subjects or our KLAs that we are all teaching anyway. So we explicitly teach these literacies. We're calling them literacies, not just literacy as in reading and writing, listening and speaking, but also the language that's used across all of the subject areas. But apart from that, we are also teaching the children skills to be a thinker, a researcher, a collaborator, a self-manager and a communicator. Because those are the key skills or competencies and character qualities that they need to prepare them for whatever comes in their future. So this is the model that we are going to be looking at. It's a prototype at the moment because it's just been designed in the computer, but we're wanting to make it a lot prettier than what it looks like right now, but it still will say the same thing. What we're going to do now is we're going to go on to watch two clips. I haven't got the buttons, so I don't know how to use this. So this is just summing up about the BYOD class. Sorry.
Come on.
Investment in the education space has grown tremendously over the past few years. Today, the level of investment is over 10 times what we saw in the 2000s. And the investment is coming not just from the public sector, but increasingly from the private sector. One of the most promising areas is in the world of personalized learning. We all have jagged learning profiles. None of us are truly average. Through technology, we actually now have the potential to meet learners where they are. So content, instead of being presented in a monolithic or linear format, can be broken down and modularized and presented to the learner at the point of need, at the right time, at the right level of difficulty. Another area that is really interesting is in the world of data and analytics. We can collect an enormous amount of data, not only around a student's actual competency, but around their engagement with texts, around their engagement with different concepts. And teachers can engage with students much earlier than they otherwise would have when someone is struggling with a problem, and provide early intervention that can ultimately help with issues around student retention and dropouts. Another area that is exciting is in competency-based learning. Historically, we've had a factory model of education where people needed to be in their seats for a certain amount of time, and people had to go through one grade in order to get to the next. But the reality is everyone has different strengths and weaknesses. And through a competency-based model where people can take just as long as they need in order to learn a material, nobody gets left behind and people can learn at their own pace. So today, in a technology-rich world, education can be a process of lifelong learning. Teachers and students can come together at a scale that we've never been able to experience before. And that really broadens the ability of society to transfer knowledge, to educate its people, and ultimately to make progress.
Meet Stu and Dent, two typical high school students. Stu comes from a pretty great home where he's got access to a smartphone, tablet, and laptop, all the tools he could ever need. Dent's family just can't afford that right now. Luckily, Stu and Dent earn a class with a laptop cart. But because there are only 10 computers in that cart, Stu and Dent have to share each computer with at least 4 other students. That just doesn't work. Although students work in groups, those without their hands on the computer just disappear from the lesson. Stu and Dent are in the same small group for a project. Stu has this great idea for the project and wants to use his smartphone, tablet, and laptop on the new school wireless. But when he tries to connect his personal equipment, he's blocked from the school Wi-Fi. Stu wonders how he can get access to the internet on his devices at his favorite coffee shop, but not at school. Back in class, he must power down his devices and rely on only those few class machines. And hopefully, he'll be one of the lucky few to get access. Of course, because Stu has so much access to technology at home, he's a whiz at it. So guess who jumps to the group's aid to get the project done? Stu! And again, everyone else just fades away. But what if Stu could use his own devices? There's a new push for BYOD, Bring Your Own Device, where Stu could get internet access at school with his tablet, and his classmates could use their smartphones, you know they've got them, or even a personal laptop. And now Dent can have that much needed access to the school computer from the laptop cart. Now no one disappears. So let's put a big dent in the digital divide. Provide for the students that really need our help while helping students that have personal access learn how to use those devices to be productive, lifelong 21st century learners.
What challenges us? Because whenever you do anything, there's always challenges. So, teaching learners to be self-managed and self-regulating. Because real learning isn't passive, it's active. We want the students to be able to work independently, but the good thing about doing it here is they're not alone. They're in a supportive environment with help and support right nearby. We want them to learn about you reach success by making mistakes. If you're just travelling along, being able to do everything, then you aren't really learning. You're just working at your comfort level. It's not until you reach challenges and make some mistakes that you really engage your learning. We have to be able to let go so that we allow the children to develop their problem-solving skills. We allow them time to think rather than just fixing up everything straight away, because otherwise you're not letting them learn. You're just telling them. Meeting every learner where they're at. Even though we've got all these great devices, that's still a challenge because there are so many levels, but you know, we work on it. Now all these problems, challenges, are they unique to a bring your own device class? No, they're not. That's really the same challenges you have in every classroom. And it's got their what next high school. When your children walk into high school, they're really expected to be self-managed and self-regulating the minute they walk in the door. So if we're going to start expecting more of that and helping them achieve that, that's got to be a good thing.
Some of the keys to creating a 21st century learning space are the flexible furniture and seating. The room doesn't always look like this. As you saw in the videos, we can adapt this room, we can divide it in two. We've got lots of seating options, there's kids on the beanbags, there's kids on the floor. We allow the students to be comfortable in their space, and that's how we feel that they engage in their learning the best. Effective use of human resources. There's up to 5 adults in the room at any one time. We're able to stream maths and English into 5 different groups for reading lessons, spelling lessons. So we're able to create that in this flexible learning space. There's collaboration both in teaching and learning. The students are working together, the teachers are working together. We're all part of a larger community. This flexible learning environment has been adapted to suit the needs of each individual student, catering for a variety of needs and learning styles.
And the big question, staffing. One of the biggest things that your children will remember from their schooling years is about their teachers. We don't expect a teacher that we nominate to walk into an iPad class. We want people to teach in a BYOD 21st century learning group classroom. So as it was this year, teachers nominated to come and work in this environment. That will be the same for the teachers who work in this environment next year. On their staffing preference sheets, they will nominate and they want to be involved in this exciting learning group experience. So in order for them to do the best job they possibly can for your precious young people, we need to ensure that we are giving them adequate professional development. And Mr. Duncan already started elaborating on some of our plans to achieve that. So not only will they be receiving professional development in the use of the device, but more importantly, professional development around what it is to be a 21st century learner and what they have to do to provide the tools to your students to become a citizen of the future. So we already have plans around professional development, and we have been engaging in activities this year around coaching of staff. So between all of us on staff, we are constantly talking to and mentoring each other. We've been talking all semester about what we're doing here and now, what we're going to do in the future, and how we can constantly improve it and make it better. We are always sharing about the technological side of things, and in terms of what apps are you using to do that, how do you get to do that. We want to help each other. So there's a really true environment of sharing and coaching amongst the staff. Another thing is we need to have a creative and efficient use of staff. So this environment does use staff creatively and efficiently, but it also provides staff with the true ability to collaborate with each other. So it's not like in many other year levels where, well, you plan the English and I'll plan the science and I'll actually teach what you've planned, but I don't really know about that. It's everybody in here working together on all the curriculum areas and being involved in teaching. So one person might be out the front talking to the whole group, but that means you've got 2 other teachers circulating around the room who can be backing it up, who can be helping out. There are so many creative ways that are working in this classroom, from whole groups to small groups to year level groups to ability groups to interest groups, that the possibilities are truly endless. Now, the next thing you might want to ask is, why a personal device? And the little clip you saw earlier about Stu and Dent does help to answer that. You could see that Stu really wanted to get all his modern, up-to-date technical devices on that school system so he could carry his learning from home to school and back again. He was unable to do that. He had to use the antiquated trolley of laptops in the school. Most of your children will have a more up-to-date device at home than we actually have in some of our laptop baskets, and particularly as time goes on. At the moment, we've been buying iPads, and we have a number of trolleys of iPads. They're current at the moment, but next year or the year after, they might be the latest, greatest. So bringing your own device provides you the opportunity to make sure your child has the latest, greatest, if that's what you want for them. But it also means that what they're doing on that device at school can be taken home. They can be sharing their learning with you. They can also be following up that learning. So if they've learned to make a movie on iMovie in class, they might want to take that skill home and make movies at home. And they can do that seamlessly by the use of the same device. Then when they've made those movies at home on the weekend, or when they went to the science centre, or when you had to take them out for a few days to go on a holiday and they did a beautiful movie of their whole entire holiday, they can bring that back and share that learning within the classroom environment. So it's in fact a more powerful way of them sharing and expanding their learning from home to school, school to home, and back again. And I can speak very passionately about that, as you can tell, but for now I better be quiet. But if you have questions, I'll be here later.
This visual infographic is pretty impressive. It shows the world that these kids have grown up in. Google was released in 1998, Wi-Fi in 2001, Wikipedia 2001, Facebook 2004, YouTube 2005. That's when most of these kids from then were born. Twitter 2006, touchscreen phones 2007, the touchscreen tablets, the iPads that we use 2010, the iPhone 5 and the PlayStation 4 2013, the MIT quantum computer 2016. It's just not stopping. We live in this technological age with technology becoming faster, smaller and more powerful every day. As educators, we need to implement these technologies to ensure our students are prepared for today's world and for whatever the future may hold.
Herein lies the key to the BYOD concept, that students own their own device, and I encourage you to use it not just for school but for home as well. So just like Leanne was saying before, they can take photos on the holiday, come back to school and apply the knowledge that they have. We have kids in our class who have used their coding technology that we've been using at the moment, taking it home and applying it to the greater world. We've had them put out their games and other people within the wider world playing their games that they have created at home using the skills that we've used here. So having their own device creates a lot more fluid ability to use the skills they're using at school, developing here and at home. It just makes it a lot more easier for us to do what we're doing. The development of their skills at the moment is amazing. So they'll come using the ideas that we've got here, they use it at home, and they're coming back with much better skills than we know. We're learning all the time purely because the kids are using this stuff at home. Having their own device opens that up for them. They can use it for homework and things like that as well. It makes it much easier. So why iPad? Initially we looked in 2016 at what we wanted to be able to do with these things. What devices were out there. We had a look around to see all the different types of devices. We had a look at the prior experience on the SWOT analysis and the commitment by the school to potential clients of the program for 2 to 3 years. The school has purchased other iPads within the school, so the kids who are coming to us have already got that initial understanding of how to use the iPads. So that's one of the key ideas between iPad. We use extensively the Apple mirroring in our classroom. So Apple just opens up that world for us. It's something that we didn't know we were going to use a lot at the start, but now it's like losing an arm if we don't have our Apple TV working. It gives the kids abilities to, we can have one child mirroring on that board, we can have another child mirroring on that board. We also have another one in that room that we can mirror as well. So it's amazing how quickly the kids get quite used to flicking up their work and seeing that, and Apple opens up that for us. and it has been a massive tool for us this year. Having the one device in the classroom as a teacher makes it much easier to debug any problems. So if there's one problem, we can fix the 81 iPads. If we had lots of different devices, I think our teaching time would be taken away to try to fix those individual problems. So one device, one type of device makes that much easier, more teaching time to fix those problems. And the kids have got a fair bit of exposure to those products as well. So they're the main reasons why we chose the iPad as our go-to across the school. Thank you.
G'day, I'm Jamie Perkins. I'm the Head of Curriculum here at Aspley East. One of the things that I've been doing in my role in the last 6 months has been managing the fleet of iPads that we've got across the school for SCP students, and they go into other classrooms as well. One of the things that it can be a little bit disappointing is when you do find a brand new app, you want to put that onto an iPad, and then you want to send that into a classroom, get really excited about it, and then you find that it's not compatible. So that's why we do have some minimum requirements for what we expect for those students who do bring those iPads to school next year. So there's 3 kinds of iPads that we're allowing. The first one is a Wi-Fi enabled iPad Air 2. iPad Air 2s aren't being sold anymore. It is an older model, but if you do have one of those, it can be used. We also have the iPad 5th Gen, which has just been released in the last few weeks. So obviously in the next 6 months, that will be 6 months old. And the third one is the iPad Pro. So that can be the current lot of iPad Pros, or it can be a little bit older. To go with that, we would be expecting at least 32 gigabytes of RAM on that device, but obviously the more the merrier. To accompany your iPad, we'll require a case that is permanently fixed to that iPad, and then that iPad to also go into a bag as well. And then with that, we would be expecting a keyboard to be able to type onto, and a stylus for students to be able to write with. We have Josh from Harvey Norman, who's just going to talk very quickly about just about a few bits and pieces that he's put together. And I'll just hand you over to Josh now.
Thanks, Jamie. Good evening, everyone. Won't be long, but some of you might have been involved with last year with the pilot year with Mr. Duncan and the school. It was quite successful for the first year. Come out to see the class in action, and I was really impressed with how the kids, you probably will know how they adapt to it really well. So moving forward, it's going to be bigger and better. But with Aspley, Harvey Norman, so we're based at Aspley, just up the road here. We looked after you as parents with regards to bundling with all the stuff that Jamie said, the requirements. So I did bring some of that stuff out here so you can look at, touch, feel, ask any questions. But yeah, the 5th Gen, that's going to be the main one that we'll probably be looking at. A little bit cheaper than the Air 2, so if you did buy last year, it's going to be a bit cheaper than what you purchased last year. So I'm here after, so if you have any questions regarding any of the purchasing and that, and what's required, I've got it here, and come and ask me. So thanks.
Thanks, Josh. Additional requirements, apart from the iPad. This was a big one last year, no book lists. So the teachers will actually order books, pencils, everything else that the kids actually use. And yes, we do have books, and the kids do write in books. So that was a bit of a surprise. We did a survey, and a lot of parents were happy that they didn't have to spend the last week contacting their books, etc. There are some subscription services used directly by the iPad class. So at the moment, that's Mathletics. It's anything else? Yeah. All right. And that levy will be $160 per child for next year. So, Shona? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Shona Kong. I'm the teacher of IPK. I'm talking to you about the nuts and bolts of it. As we just spoke about, there's a $160 book levy, but we also need the parents to buy some apps. Last year, that worked out to about $50 for this year. You will need to purchase from time to time some new apps. As you know, this is a thing that is growing and changing all the time, and we're constantly researching, finding the best app for what we want to do. So at time to time during the year, we will contact you and ask you to download a different app for a different purpose. So far this year, we've done it probably 3 or 4 times, and there's been no cost to parents, but it did cost $50 initially for all the mandatory apps. As you probably know, if you have any of these devices, they also need updating all the time, and that is up to you, the parents, to manage how you're going to get those apps, how you're going to pay for those apps, and how you're going to update your child's device. It needs to be done quite regularly. And obviously, when we find that things aren't updated, things don't work so well, and things start to get glitchy, kids get quite upset when their work doesn't save, for example, because they haven't got the latest update.
Alright, so we've heard lots about what the BYOD class will look like and what you'll need. So what happens to the other classes that don't have their BYOD device there with them? Those children still learn. It's not like they're going to be in a class where they stagnate. They still learn. However, the school has iPads, like Leanne said, in a bank or a trolley. We've also got the computer lab over in the library as well. And we are getting 30 more iPads delivered to us in semester 2 in a few weeks' time. So those iPads, though, are shared, and the computer lab is shared with the other 30 classes in the school. And they are used consistently. They're being used from prep right up to year 6. A lot of the assessment actually in prep and year 1, as you know, that's where I am. They're starting their assessment this week and next week, and they're all doing it on iPads. And I was just told today by a prep teacher how cute it was how they was on the iPads. The kids knew exactly what to do. She didn't, but the kids did. So it's it's the way of the future, like I said before. So when we've got 30 other classes sharing the other iPads, it limits the child's access to an iPad or to a digital device. So they are booked out once or twice a week by each class. However, if you've got your child in the BYOD, they can just go straight to their own device at any time of the day. So the access to that device is quite easy. So I just wanted to say, if you make the decision not to be in the BYOD class next year, then your child, I want you to have that confidence that they will learn and they will have access to iPads in the rest of the school as well. Next. So you've just spent all this money on your child's iPad. How do we keep it safe? Really important question. At the moment, we have rules around the children using their device. To begin with, this classroom is locked whenever there is nobody in it. And the iPads, once the child comes to school, the iPad comes into the classroom and stays in the classroom until they leave in the afternoon. Unless they are with the teacher on a specific purpose, leaving the room to, photograph an animal or something, which has been what's been happening in the last couple of weeks. In between times, between your car and actually entering into the classroom, the children have their iPad in their bag, and their bag must stay on their back. They're not allowed to take their bag off and put it down anywhere because, for obvious reasons, it could get stolen. But what we know happens more often than not in the school is that people trample things, and we don't want a bag to be trampled with an iPad in it. So if your child arrives at 8 o'clock and they're in the goal ball area, they will have their bag on their back until 8:30 when the bell rings. You're supposed to be seated in the goal ball area, so not really a problem. So outside of school time, it's your responsibility to secure the item, but within school, it's our responsibility. And so far, we've had a really great success rate with those things, and the children do take it very seriously. It's part of the 21st century, is learning to manage and be responsible for your own things. And so far this year, we've had great success with that.
I'm just touching wood every time she says that.
Safe cyber citizenship is important to us here at Aspley East. We teach it as part of the curriculum, especially in our learning group. Being a good digital citizen is more than just knowing your way around the web. It's about connecting and collaborating. in ways that we didn't even know that were possible. At Aspley State School, we implement the Common Sense Education Digital Citizenship curriculum that all students within this class space work with us through. The program creates a positive school culture that supports safe and responsible technology use. It helps students navigate cyberbullying, internet safety issues, and other digital dilemmas.
So cyber safety comes across as 3-tier. We have the children who need to be responsible for their own behaviour. And we educate them, as Jeff was saying, through the digital citizenship. We have an iBook that we work through. In the beginning of the year, it feels like we're doing it every day because it's really important. Now, halfway through the year, we're doing digital citizenship lessons once a week, but of course it's being followed up all the time. The grade 3s in term 4 will be doing a cyber safety unit before they enter into year 4, whether that be in the iPad class or not. So that's the students covered. Us teachers have an awesome app called the Classroom app. It was released about 6 weeks ago. Apple, another good reason to use Apple. Apple designed this app for classroom use. And on that app, every student is connected, and at any time, us 3 teachers, 5 teachers, depending on who's here, can actually see what every child is doing on their device while they're at school. So it's a really great safety net because, as we know, as much as we educate, sometimes children make mistakes, and that's a good safety net for us to grab a child before things escalate. Parents will receive training as well if they're wishing to. We're collaborating with Aspley State High School and Eyes Open, which is a organisation that comes in to educate parents and students. So we'll be conducting some evenings next year where parents can also get some cyber safety information. I went to one a few weeks ago with a lot of our BYOD parents, and it was absolutely fantastic. They were all about telling you what to do rather than what not to do, which as a parent, knowing what to do is where the power comes. So unfortunately, if there is poor conduct by your child, then they are held responsible for that because we have done everything that we can to educate them correctly.
Okay, so we're getting very close to the end, guys, for those that need to get moving. There is a digital citizenship contract that students and parents have to sign to be a part of this whole thing. It's kind of the agreement that we all will abide by to be a part of the Bring Your Own Device class. We go through this with a fine-tooth comb with the students, and you're expected to go through it with the kids when they sign it with you. If you get a letter of offer to be a part of this and you want to join the Bring Your Own Device class, I won't go through it in heaps of detail because you'll get it with your pack when we offer places for the classes. It's and I'll talk to you about that in just a second. But it talks about what you need to do to be safe in the iPad class. It makes sure that the students know their responsibilities, and it also gives us, I guess, some authority with the kids. If they breach that agreement, what happens to them? I've had more problems as a principal in schools with students that are not in Bring Your Own Device classes, because the ones that are in the Bring Your Own Device have been through cyber safety, have been through the expectations and know it, and they know if they breach it, they actually lose their iPad or their ability to use the device here at school, and that's basically what that whole agreement is talking about. You need to use it properly, you need to follow the rules, or you're not going to have it. There's nothing worse than actually being part of a Bring Your Own Device with kids in it, and you're the person that can't use the device in that class, because they don't get put somewhere else. They stay in this class and everything they do is on pen and paper if that actually happens. It also gives you, part C of that is some things you can put on the fridge at home, so you can come back to those agreements and some safety tips for parents as they're dealing with this whole thing as well. So what happens now is if you are interested in being a part of the Bring Your Own Device for next year, I need to get an expression of interest from you by next Friday. And it looks like these 3 pieces of paper here.
So at the end, Jeff and Erin will have the Year 4 2018. So
We'll be down that end of the room.
yep, so we've just got a little bit to finish off now. So Jeff and Erin Year 4 2018. Shona will have Year 5 2018. So Orange, Shona and Jamie will have Year 6 2018 with the collector expression of interest.
So if you fill those out, can I get you to be really, those doctors in the room, like me, or the people that use computers all the time, be really, really neat with your email address. Because the number of emails that bounce back to me from the initial, the informal expression of interest, were heaps because we couldn't read the handwriting to put them into the system. So make sure your email address is correct, because that's the way I'll start communicating with you around the Bring Your Own Device class for next year. Fill that out, get it back at your earliest convenience, but it must be by close of business next Friday, because no one's on the school for the next 2 weeks after that. And I'll be starting to put them all together and work out what are the numbers for 2018 and what do classes look like for next year. When we come back next term and we've got a pretty good idea, and I'll go through our teacher governance structures here at the school and go through the school council to talk about what it looks like and make sure that we're not impacting on the rest of the school. And I'll send an email out to all of those parents giving you a first round offer that says, you know, you're being offered a place in the Bring Your Own Device class for next year. If you want to take that up, so you can say no, you've got to fill out the paperwork, get it in and pay the SRS for next year so that you've got your place all secured. And then once that's done, I'll send you the final information for everything you need to know for 2018.